Voyred acharov kivoidoi. Agud vochraboisai. Welcome to all the guests. Welcome to myself. I'm also a guest. Live from Chicago. Be'ezer Hashem, tomorrow morning, early morning, I'm back in New York, Ir HaKodesh, Brooklyn. And from there to Ir HaKodesh, Lakewood. Be'ezer Hashem. I'm here on a charity campaign, but chas v'shalom, I'm not going to ask the Olam here in Chicago. My brothers, my mishpacha, my friends. Be'ezer Hashem, we're trying to raise $1.5 million to increase Torah in Klal Yisroel and to increase Yiddishkeit, kiruv kroivim, bringing people to do the right thing, to increase a little bit, a little shnai mikra, a little midas taiva through Torah. And if we have right now over 25,000 people doing the daf with us, Be'ezer Hashem, our goal is to double, triple that in the next year or two. And for that, we need a shtickle money. Without the noise, without the, yishkoyach. I'm very sensitive to that. Okay, you can keep on, it's okay, you can keep on going with that. So, I'll just read a few, it's automatic, that camera, even when you put it away, it keeps on snapping. It's close to Shabbos now, and I'm writing again to report, maybe just turn it off, the off will be. It's close to Shabbos now, and I'm writing again to report another full week on the daf wagon. This week, I felt many times that Yeshua was extremely connected to the moment. Reading about beautifying Yerushalayim and Trusham Purim, about Parah Dumaner. What's going on over there? What's making that noise?
It's not from here.
It's not from here? Oh, it's outside. That's what it is. Okay, fine. Parah Dumaner. I said I have an issue with noise. It just throws me off a little bit. Simply being in Baltimore, maybe it's me.
Your chair.
No, somebody else's. Or simply being in Baltimore right after the tremendous accident there. Yet perhaps even more importantly, it's how you make the right time. Like what you said about the daf. Koyach. I've also been thinking a lot about the concept of Achiyov Eliyo. There are sources that teach that Gil Eliyo is also a state of mind, and I feel like Eliyahu Novi is constant on the daf itself. Sometimes openly and sometimes not so openly. Abu Saba, Abu Gavra, Abu Taya. In today's daf, Rabbi Shmuel ben Kitzer, he goes on, and Eliyahu is carrying the wood. Okay, fine. Thank you, Reb Eli, for being there for us day in, day out. Thank you for never abandoning us. Shabbat Shalom, Shavuot Tov. Daniel from Miami. Chaim Yehuda Meir, please increase my goal to $1,000, he says. You can tell Reb Eli that I'm the shy guy. I never expected to get this far. That's it. From today on, he's not going to be shy anymore. He's going to have a lot of people bugging him. Good Shabbos. All right, what do we have? This one. Oh, dear Mary Rabbi. Who's that an email from? No. Where's Chaim Levin? That's how he starts. It was so nice to come to the live share last night and see you in person. It was a big chizuk for me. The story related about Rabbi Aman was very personal to me on many levels. First, I grew up in Baltimore. As a child, until I got married, I always lived near Ner Yisroel. My father lived there as a bacher. Bekitzer, as a result, Rabbi Neuberger, all of us was always a person I looked up to and admired in many ways. It meant for him. Probably one of the primary reasons that I'm asking for the tzibur is due to him. My father, I would say that the reason I do so much for MDY is primarily because of him and my father. So Repair Stam Levine, if you don't know, brought over 1,400 people to the shir by just standing outside at different locations and asking people to come join Torah. My father also, quietly in his own way, has done so much for the tzibur. In the area of kashrus, he published probably the first kashrus magazine, Kashrus Currents, is still being published to this day. He also found the Baltimore Vada Kashrus with Rabbi Heinemann. Interesting, the video about Rabbi Aman also had a quote from the originator, who I'm an amical of. Why you can stop by my house and see the signs and banners that I put up on behalf of the charity campaign. No pressure. Just so happens that my house is right around the corner from the shul, that your wife will be speaking at on Sunday. Have a wonderful Shabbos in Chicago. Yes, so tomorrow, I don't know what I have planned exactly. I think it's like a small shir, but my wife is doing one of these. I think no, is it a challah thing? No, something for women. With who's the Rebbitzin speaking? She spoke at the Shabbaton. Jackie Beton. Yeah, have a wonderful Shabbos in Chicago. By the way, Yosef, how's your $10,000 campaign going?
It's going.
Yeah.
10,061.
Oh, 10,061. Oh, that's right. Samachalev, Eli Stefansky. I got it. Have a wonderful Shabbos in Chicago and hope to see you again soon. Your Talmud always. What? So you already got $61? You got the 61. Your Talmud always parents Chaim Levin. The Masechta is sponsored by Anonymous for the safe and speedy return of all the hostages. Paras HaChodesh for Fishel and Limud ben Tzipora. Paras HaChodesh l'nishmas zechariah ben Moshe l'nishmas Chai bas Yosef. Paras HaChodesh Ahron Fraiman. It should be a zechus to rebellion for continuous siyadta dishmaya teaching Torah to Klal Yisroel. Amen. Paras HaChodesh Yosef Ben Chaya Sara for all the zchusim that come from supporting limud HaTorah. Paras HaYoim Avrohom Farkovits. Happy birthday to my wife Tzirel. Paras HaYoim Mordechai Taub Rezel bas Yisrael Shlomo zechariah levracha. And the art of the month, an honor to the zchus for needs childbirth of his daughter and a healthy baby. Question. We know there's a concept called Tzar Balachayim. Tzar Balachayim is when you bother different animals. We'll see later on what kind of animals exactly. But let's say you take a horse and you pull it by the ear. Tzar Balachayim. Let's say you take a human being and you pull a human being's ear. Tzar Balachayim or not Tzar Balachayim? Oiver and Tzar Balachayim. Nafkimina, first of all, you get an extra avera. But do you get malchus? It's lav doiraisa. Do you get malchus for being mitzar a human being? Anybody? Shalom. How are you? No? What are you tied up?
Probably not. Yeah.
Probably not.
But there's other things.
This is true. There's other things that you're chayiv. According to the Rashba, we'll see you're chayiv and tzar balachayim. Why not? If you're over on an animal, so certainly on a human being. There are others who are mechul. So a very geshmaki gemara today. We are holding on Daf Amud Aleph, Amud Beis. Today's Daf Lev, Amud Beis, and we're holding 3 lines from the bottom of Amud Aleph, Amud Beis. If a person does not want to be mekayim, the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda, he must go in front of a bezin. How many people in a bezin? 3 people. And he makes it tonight and he says, I want to get paid for my work. I'm a famous doctor. I earn $1,000 an hour. I'm not interested in dealing now with somebody's cow and waste my time. I need... Is that like one of the kids?
Timer. Shabbos clock.
Okay, let's turn it back on.
So it might be a time.
Okay. Oh, it's back on. Shkoy. So he has to make a time from the bezin. Says the Gemara's story. Isur v'Rav Safra. There were 2 people. Isur v'Rav Safra. They were business partners. Also, Rav Safra palaglei beloidaite. Rashi says he had a bunch of, they had stuff, they had merchandise that you had to get it evaluated. He went and he decided, okay, I'm absolving the partnership without telling his partner, without telling Isur. And he went in front of 2 Eidim and he absolved. He says, this is 50% is mine, 50% we're leaving for my partner Isur. In front of 2 people. Is that good enough or not? What's the shiloh? Perhaps you need a bezdin, perhaps you need 3. What's this 2 people business? Also, came the Rabbi Rav Huna. So Rav Safra, after Isur was upset at him, so he decided, Rav Safra decided to go to Rabbi Rav Huna to see if he did the right thing. Amalei. Rabbi said you were wrong. Zil Aisi Tlosa. Oh, I do have a problem with this table. Amalei Zil Aisi Tlosa the Palgis Kamayu. Bring the bezdin that you divided the merchandise in front of. In other words, 2 is not good. You need 3. Inami. I'll give you another option. Top of Amud Beis Amud Aleph. Trey migoit lasa. I'll let you take 2 out of 3, but at least it was done in front of 3. Vinami Trey Sa'ad Plak Bapi Blit Klosa. Or bring me 2 witnesses that saw that you did this in front of 3 people. In other words, you need 3 and you did it in front of 2, no good. Omarle, Rav Safaro wasn't going to get pushed over like that. Menolacha, who told you? Omarle, the Stanim Yeshon Bezdin, Master Bifneim, our Mishnah. If you don't want to be Mekayim, the mitzvah of Hashavas Haveda, you must go in front of a Bezdin and stipulate that you want to get paid for this. Ain't Shom Bezdin, Bifnei Mi Yasno, and if you don't have a Bezdin to do this in front of, Shaloi Kaidem. Your money that you make and you earn comes before the Hashavas Haveda. Rav Stafford says, I knew you're going to say that. Me dummy. There's no comparison. When it comes to Hashavas Haveda, you want me. I want to get paid for what I'm doing. I'm trying to get paid by the owner of the object. I need a bezdin for this. Trying to extract money that we didn't even talk about. I'm taking my own. I have a 50% partnership here. I don't have to ask questions. I'm going to take my money and go. This is only to tell people that there's witnesses that saw that this is what I did. But other than that, I don't have to do it. Betray, Sagile, 2 is enough. Teida, and I'll prove it to you. It's not Almana Mecher Shlei B'fnei Bezdin. An Almana whose husband left her property to live off, he's chayiv in the ksuba until she gets the ksuba, she gets property. Mecher Shlei B'fnei Bezdin, she doesn't need the three people. It's enough without Bezdin. It's not true. So Rav Nachman says no. Rav Yosef says in the name of Rav Nachman, Almana, you're right, doesn't need a Bezdin, but she needs 3 people. Bottom line is, according to Abaya, you see you need 3 people. Rav Safar says there's no right from our Mishnah. Okay. Says the Heilige Mishnah, sponsored by Moshe Cohen, no? I forgot who it is. If you find an animal in the barn, you don't have to take care of it. So what's the chiddush, Rabbi Yisai? Of course, if the animal's inside a barn, you don't have to take care of it. So we're going to see. It's more like something like this, maybe a barn, not the most shmira involved over here. We have to remember this, that the Mishnah talks about a barn and then immediately about Rishus Harabim. If you find it in the middle of a busy street, you have to take care of it. This is a halacha that we learned about. If you find an object, you see a bicycle in a cemetery and you're a kohen, lo yitamela. Since you have an isser to become tamei, the isser of becoming tamei overrides the mitzvah of Hashavas Haveda. If your father tells you, I don't care about what the Torah says, I want you to become tamei, or don't return the Aveda, lo yishmala. Of course, if a father tells you to do an Avera, every kid in Cheder knows, maybe from this Mishnah, if father tells you to do an Avera, you don't listen. Parak beton. Prika. Prika means to unload an animal. This animal right over here is overloaded. You see, like in the Mishnah in a second, overloaded might be a little different, but the animal can't move, so you have a mitzvah to unload. The pasuk says, "Kisiris chamor senacha roivetz tachas masai." Literally, first of all, it says over here, your enemy's animal, your enemy, even your enemy, he is burdened down by this, whatever this load. It's more like a question. What, you're gonna refrain from helping? You're mechuyev to help him. This is a pasuk about prika. Te'ina, shmak. It's a guy, he's waiting around for someone to help him out to load the animal. Okay, a couple of empty white boxes, of course. have Gemaras in there. So in the pasuk of Te'ina it says, "Leisiris chamar achicha isher noiflim baderech." They fell. V'salamtu mehem hakim takim imay. Load, help him load it up. That's how the Gemara understands it now. Or the Mishnah, this man Damar. Says the Mishnah, Parak V'tan. You did this once. Parak V'tan. You did this twice. Afilu arba v'chamisha ha'amim chayav. Every time you load up the animal again, he falls to the ground. You give him some rest. You help him out. You unload him. You give him a breather. You load him up again. He collapses. Keep on doing this. Shenemar Oziv Tazav. Yesterday we had a whole sugya that when it comes to Eichacha, when it comes to giving gifts, all these things, there's no limit. You just keep on going. But what if this guy, oh, this is a good one. You're going to love this. The guy sits on the side. Here, check this out. I love this picture. He's a tzaddik. He's learning. He says, "You take care of my stuff." It says in the pasuk, you have to help me out. So help me out. I don't care. I'm not going to help you. You're mechayev to do it. If you want to do the mitzvah, do it. Potter. Shenemar imoi. With him. So the Kliyokar says, interesting. He brings this pasuk. He says, and this is a very look. I'm not passing la halacha, and I never do. So don't say, "Oh, I heard in Daf Yomi shir, I don't have to do this and this and that." I'm just throwing it out there. He says, if a guy comes to you with money, for money, and you know that the guy is a little bit of a lazy bum, he could have had a job, but he doesn't feel like working. He wants to rely and depend on handouts. Says the Kliyakar, you don't have to help him out. From this pasuk, from over here. When do you help somebody? When he did everything he can. He went, he keeps on getting fired, and he gets for another job, and he goes. Okay, so you help him out. A guy stop. He's not interested in working. He's interested in collecting. Not mechuyev to help him. That's what he says. Do we pass him like that? I'm just throwing it out there. So if you don't want to give tzedakah, you have a good excuse or something. Whatever. Now it's known. Everybody says the same thing applies with Yiddishkeit. When you make a start, when you show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you're interested and you want, okay, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes ahead and helps you out. Say, listen, I want to learn Torah. It's just difficult, but look, I am going to learn. Not I want. Just wanting is not enough. It's the same idea, kind of. You have to show that you're interested. You're trying. Okay, so then we help out. The guy's not interested. Stop. I'm lazy. Hashem, I want to learn. No, what did you do to learn? Nothing. Okay, then nothing's going to happen. Says the Gemara. Thank you. I got the hint. We're hurrying. Is it 10:10? Yeah, it is. Wow, that's late. Oh. But the guy sitting on the side over there, this character, not this guy. This guy. He's an old man or sick. Then obviously he can't help you out. Chayiv, even if he doesn't help you out, you must go ahead and take care of it. Says the Mishnah, mitzvah menat Torah lifroik avaloi litoin. So if you just read the Mishnah, you're not going to know pshat. So for that we need a Gemara. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to unload the animal, but not to load the animal. Reb Shimon Omer, and then we're going to see the Gemara. What it means is, of course, there's a mitzvah to load an animal. We just saw the pasuk. You don't get paid for it. That's what the Mishnah means. Basically, if we go back to this guy, this is the case. Way too much. You loaded up the animal way too much. Now you don't have to help him out. Because the Torah says he's under his load, meaning the load, normal load.
That's
Oh, Valdic question. That's how the Gemara gets into the whole question. Because of this. It's part of the idea. Yeah, that's we're gonna have to wait for the Gemara. The Gemara wants to prove from here that there is no concept of tzar v'lachayim, that it's made up by Rabbanan, not in the Torah, because otherwise, so what if it's overloaded? There's still the animal suffering, you have to help him out. Correct. Good point. Omar Rava. Says Rava, this barn that we said that if you found an animal in a barn, you don't have to do anything. Omar Rava, Rebbe Shalomru, Eino Masa, Ve'eino Mishameres. It's not a type of barn that forces you to, that forces the animal to run away. A terrible barn, whatever it is, too much sunlight, not enough food. But it also, it's Eino Mishameres, it's not a very secure barn. Something like this. Why? Since you're not mechuyev to help the animal, obviously it's not a barn that's harmful for the animal. Otherwise, you'd have to help out the animal. And also, it's not a barn that's very secure. This is a very secure barn. If you find an animal outside roaming the streets, you're allowed to throw the animal right back into the barn, and you don't need the das of the owner. You don't need his not. He doesn't need to know. The owner doesn't need to know you returned it. We said it's a special halacha when it comes to Hashav Zaveda. You don't need to notify the owner. You do need to notify somebody you stole from. You have to notify, but not when it comes to Hashav Zaveda. So certainly, if it's inside El Shmamino Ena Mishameres, of course, we're talking about that. So, in other words, if I find an animal outside, I take the animal, put it inside a barn, I'm good to go. So if an animal's inside a barn, what should I do? He's already inside the barn. I have to take him, pick him up, and put him back in. He's already inside. It's good to go. Ella Shmamino Ena Mishameres. We're talking about it's a barn like this barn over here that has a nice opening to run away. So in that case, I have to make sure that he doesn't run away. Again, for anybody new, this whole parak is about helping out another Jew. It's about seeing that another Jew is about to incur loss. I help him out. I make sure that it doesn't happen. There's such a thing, right? And we spoke about on Friday. You might have not been here. You see that the guy's battery in his car is about to go out. He left his light on. You have a chiyuv to go knock on his door and tell him, hey, you're about to lose your battery. Whatever it is, anything. Let's say, for instance, you see somebody that forgot his air conditioner on in his store. He locked the store and he forgot. You have a mitzvah, Hashav Zaveda, to call him up and say, hey, Hashav Zaveda is not just finding a pen on the street. Hashav Zaveda is preventing loss for another human being. So if a guy leaves his air conditioner on for 48 hours over Shabbos, he just simply forgot. He doesn't need it there. He just needs to turn it on an hour before the customers come. Shabbos Zaveda. If you found the animal inside the barn, you don't have to return. What is tchum? Here, check this out. Tchum means you have 2,000 amma from your house in each direction on Shabbos. That's all you can go. 2,000 amma, approximately 4,000 feet. This is just hilchas tchum. So if there's a way to extend that 2,000 amma, to make it 4,000 amma by putting a challah, by putting a meal at the 2,000 or a little bit less than 2,000, let's say 1999, you put a piece of challah, and then you go 2,000 amma from that place on. Here, it looks something like this. You go another 2,000 amma, but then you lose the 2,000 amma in the other direction of your house. Basically, what you're doing is you're shifting your house to where the challah is. So therefore, you have 2,000 amma in each direction of the challah. Instead of having 2,000, that's the Erev Tchumim. But when it comes to us, we're talking about 2,000 amma from the city limit. So, we said, he's explaining, Rabbi's explaining, that we're talking about inside the Tchum, but outside of the Tchum, Rishus Rabbim, that the Mishnah says that you're chayiv to return. Even inside the tchum you're chayiv. Only when it's inside a barn, you're not chayiv if it's inside the tchum. Only outside of the tchum. In other words, it's so far away, and so then over there you have a chiyuv to return it. something within city limits, you're not mechuyev to deal with it. Let the owner deal with it. He knows about it. The Masala safe, and some people say it goes on the safe, and we have a completely different halacha based on that. We're talking about the Rosh Hashanah Reb Yisrael was talking about, and he said it's halacha Rosh Hashanah. From there, we can infer on the barn. The what? Rosh Hashanah the Mishnah says, but if it's in Rosh Hashanah, you have to return it. This Rosh Hashanah is talking about inside the tchum. So from here you can infer that if it's a barn, you're not mechuyev. Okay. If you're a kohen and you see a lost item inside a cemetery, you do not go into the cemetery. Don't worry about it. How do you know that if a father says, do an avera, don't return the aveda? I want you to go into the cemetery and retrieve that bike even though you're a kohen. How do you know you don't listen to the father? Oh, okay, whatever. I'll show you this for a second because once we already look at this red arrow. The red arrow is showing you that from the other side of the house you cannot carry even 1 inch. Okay, Givaldi. Here's the pasuk. Ish imoy v'avtiro v'shapsoisai tishmaru ani Hashem. So the pasuk says, "I am Hashem," to remind you, hey, I'm the boss here, not your father and mother. Yes, fear your father and mother, but at the end of the day, ani Hashem, I'm above your father and mother. Even your father and mother have to respect me, and therefore, if they tell you to disrespect me, Hashem, you're not allowed to listen to them. Ask the Gemara, time that goes to Rahman dishmaya, holav hachi. By the way, stop, as a side note, it's important to remember this because I know people that are not so in tune with this. Rachel Imenu was punished because she caused pain to her father when she broke the David Zara. So if you think about the trophy, if you think about it, she caused pain to who? To a Rasha Merusha, Lavan Harasha. That's his name. Lavan Harasha. No, because I heard people say, the reason why I don't speak to my father, you know what my father is? Is he Lavan Harasha? Even Lavan Harasha you got to be careful with. Even Lavan Harasha.
What about Avrohom when he smashed the windows? He got punished for that?
I don't know. He's 3 years old. You're focusing on that. I'm focusing on the. You know how many people don't speak to like their parents? Like they have a. You know what my mother did to me? If you would know what she did, then you'd understand me. I understand you, but at the end of the day, she's not loving a Russia, and you get punished for ish imoy va'aviv tiro. The Torah compares. It's a yira. You have to have a yira for your parents, and it's similar to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak. It's like the same. We learn from there how to respect Hashem. Also, like when you become a parent, right? Everybody knows. Like when you have a baby, all of a sudden you realize, oh, whoa, my father and mother did this for me. They woke up 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and then sometimes they had to be up the entire night. Then you start shopping, and then you start respecting your parents more. And it's just a muscle of how we have to respect Hashem. It's very, very chomer. Anyway. Says the Gemara, if you know somebody like that, I know somebody like that, so I went over there and I said, listen, you got to be a little bit more careful. I know your parent did terrible things to you in your mind. Maybe it's real, but at the end of the day, maybe you should make a move and just be casual or something. Just don't make this big fight. You're right. And this person went, after I spoke to him, he went and he made up, sort of, on a casual level, but at least you're not like fighting your own parent. Oh, says the Gemara, but why do I need a pasuk for this? Why do I need this pasuk right over here? You would think that you have to listen to your father against Hashem, but I have a good time against it. I say, to be mechabed your father is one mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to say. The mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda is a lois hasevase. V'liyosi asay v'dochi es lois hasevase. One assay doesn't push off an assay and a lois assay. By the way, here, let's show you this. Here's the assay. Hoshef Teshivim is an assay. What's the lois assay? Loisucha l'salim. Now, I just mentioned it quickly, the other shir, and I'll say it again. Because when the Gemara talks about becoming tamei, the Gemara says you can't become tamei because becoming tamei is an assay and a lois assay versus the assay of Hashav Saveda. So Rashi asks, but Hashav Saveda is also a lois assay. So in other words, Rashi is asking that since there's an assay and a lois assay by Hashav Saveda, you should become tamei when you are doing a Hashav Saveda. The Gemara says you shouldn't because it's 1 against 2, maybe it's 2 against 2. So Rashi says that a lois assay never pushes off something. It's used for defense, not for offense. When you want to use an assay and say you should do something, say, well, you can't do it because it's 2 against 1. It's an assay and a lois assay. So you use it as a defensive mechanism. But you never use an assay and a lois assay to do something bad. Lois assay doesn't say you should do something bad. So lois assay to do Hashav Zaveda, it doesn't mean that because of that you should become tamei. You can't use that to make yourself tamei. Anyway, okay. We go right there. What? Assay is doichel lois assay. That's a klal. An assay is doichel lois assay. An assay does not push off an assay and a lois assay. 1 against 1. One assay against a lois assay, a positive against a negative, positive wins. But a positive does not beat out a positive and a negative. Says the Gemara. Oh. Israel, sorry. Israel. Since there's a hekesh, a comparison, a hekesh between kibbud av and the covenant you have to have. Takadosh Baruch Hu shenemar kan kabed is Akiva Simcha. Remember alone, kabed is Hashem hoincha kabed and kabed is a hekesh. Well, that's what zero. So kabed is Akiva Simcha, kabed is Hashem hoincha. You should honor Hashem with your property. I would think they should listen to your father. Kamash malon, the leilish malay. You have to listen to Hashem, not your father. There's a mitzvah. We have to explain this line. It says before in the Torah that right? Oops, I don't know what happened, but okay. So says the Gemara, what does it mean? There's no mitzvah to upload an animal. You shouldn't do it at all. Let's see if I have here. Tina, there's a pasuk here. Doesn't say in the pasuk. There's a whole pasuk about Tina. This is Tina, Hakim Takim. Sorry, talking about the same thing. We have a mefurish mitzvah say to help the guy. Says Gemara, Elo mitzvah min HaTorah livrik b'chinam. The pshat is you have a mitzvah to unload the animal for free. You don't get paid for that. V'lo litam b'chinam ela b'sachar. But to load up the animal, that you get paid for. Reb Shimon Oimer, af litam b'chinam, even loading the animal, you must do it for free. Tanin lo Torah Rabbanon prika b'chinam. This is exactly what we learned. To unload the animal when the animal is under a tremendous amount of stress, that you do for free. Tina basachar, but the animal's not stressed out. You might be stressed out. You have a delivery to give, so you load it up for him. That you get paid for. Both are free. My tamayu the rabbanon. What's the pshat? If you hold that, you get paid for loading an animal. Think about it. What's a bigger chiddush? What's more logical? You have 2 animals in front of you. One is dying, schwitzing away, about to collapse because it has 1,000 pounds on its back, and one is you need to load it up. Which one should you do first? Unload the animal. So if the Torah wants to tell you both and only tell you one halacha and you learn the other one from it, so the Torah would tell you help a guy load the animal, and of course you would know, and logically they have to unload the animal also. Why does the Torah say both? To teach you that one you get paid for, one you do not get paid for. There's no paid for the animal, and nobody's losing money. The animal's not about to collapse and ruin its meat forever, or whatever it's going to ruin. Chayav, you have to help him. Priko. So unload the animal. This is what's Tzar Chaim. There's a tremendous amount to pay for the animal. And the guy's going to lose money. His animal's going to be worth much less if he faints and who knows what, he's going to collapse under the load. Like Kolchkin, certainly you have to help him out. So why did the Torah write both? Because otherwise I would say that in both of them they get paid. Reb Shimon my time up. And so how can Reb Shimon argue with this? We don't know from the pasuk what's Ti'ina and what's Prika, which one is what. It doesn't say before in the Torah Ti'ina, it doesn't say Prika. What it does say is Tachas Matzoi, Roivis Tachas Matzoi, but look at Ti'ina, to upload. Where does it say over here that you're loading up an animal? Leisira es Chamarachicha. Yeah? Leisira es Chamarachicha, Oishar Noiflim. They fell. Okay, where does it say that you're loading him up? A derech, salam to him. Hakim takim imay. Hakim takim. Okay, lift him up. I don't see from here that much, says Reb Shimon, that it's talking about loading. What do you mean? The first pasuk about prika, to unload an animal, it says he is laying on the ground under the weight of the load. So obviously it means to unload him because he's laying on the ground with the load. And in this pasuk that we're looking at, says the Gemara, what are you talking about? It seems like very obvious from the pasuk. One is the guy, the animal's under the load, and the other one says they fell off. Both of them fell. The animal and the load fell off. So you're supposed to they're both on the ground. The load is also on the ground, so you have to load up the load. No, Rav Shimon says no. Yeah, they're both on the ground, but the load is still attached to the animal, so you don't have to load them up. We're talking about unloading, maybe. Rabbi said we're talking about a sugya now, a very interesting sugya about tsar balechayim. Everybody knows, every kid knows, you can't do what we did when I was a 10-year-old. I learned in Tifrach, and unfortunately, to this day probably, they don't have basketball, they don't have sports. So as an American kid, I was learning yeshiva there, and I had nothing to do. So the sport was who could hit a cat from a far distance with a rock. That was the thing. Okay, listen, I feel bad thinking about now, but this was no. Is that also? Is it not also? You're allowed to take a cat and burn it? So, interestingly, this might be a chiddush to some people. Is there tzar balachayim to take a fly and kill it? Is that tzar balachayim? No? Why not? Is there tzar balachayim on a mouse? Chop off a mouse's head. Tzar balachayim? No, you can take a trap. Everybody says no. What about a kangaroo? Is there tzar balachayim on a kangaroo? Yeah, why? Because he's big.
They have nerves.
So these animals have nerves. Trust me. Everything has nerves. Listen, this is not a science class, but all your questions about nerves we'll do later. Just believe them. Yes, they have nerves. So the Ahron Fraiman in the Yerdea says there's no Isur Tzar Balachayim in all animals of the world, besides those that do work for you, and besides domesticated animals like a dog and a cat. He talks about a dog and a cat. But other animals, no Tzar Balachayim. That's what he says. The Arizal says there's a certain inyan in Chasidus of not being mitzar other animals, but not in terms of the Isser that we're going to be talking about. We're talking about mainly animals that help human beings. And also pay attention that if there's a certain thing that, alligator, you want the skin of it, you want the skin of a deer, of a kosher animal, kill him. We don't have a problem in terms of halacha. There's no isser to kill an animal for your benefit. I'm not talking about being tsar and making it scream kind of thing. For the minor thing of just the skin, you don't want to even eat the animal. Skin, it's mutar al pi halacha to kill an animal. So we got to pay attention to that as well. So says Omar Rav Medibri Shteim Nilmad. If you pay attention to the sugya, you could see. You could tell that there's a concept called tsar bali chayim, doiraisa in the Torah. That the Torah forbids it. Why? We just came through a kavachomer that everybody agrees to, that if the Torah would tell us that you have a mitzvah to load an animal, there's a mitzvah to take a suitcase and a box and put it on top of an animal. Certainly there's a mitzvah to take off the suitcase from an animal who's mamish bitzar. So what do you see? That it's a concept in the Torah. Not that an animal. Why are you taking off the suitcases from the animal? Because it's tsar v'lachayim. What other reason would you make a kavod? Again, we said if the Torah only said one pasuk, a pasuk about te'ina, which means to load up an animal, then everybody logically would come to the conclusion that there's also a mitzvah to unload an animal that could barely move, is about to collapse. Why? What's the logic? So the Gemara is going to say there's two logics here. One logic is the obvious one is because it's a tsar for the animal. So you see, tsar b'lachayim is deraisa. The Gemara says that's not a raya. There's another logic. What's the logic? One is causing damage to a human being. When my animal is under duress, it causes me damage. Why? Because now my animal's not going to work well anymore. You're going to ruin his ligaments and who knows what. So let's see inside. Rabbi Shimon only doesn't argue on the actual logic. He argues that you don't see from the pasuk what it means. Is it te'in or prika? But if from the pasuk you would see what it is, then you would make the same kavachomer. Isn't it because of the concept of the tsar v'lachayim? No, because it's a monetary loss to a Jew, and that's what we have to be careful of. When to load up an animal, there's no monetary loss for the Jew, because the animal is not going to be damaged. So to unload an animal that has 500 pallets on it or whatever, thousands of pounds, that's causing actual damage, certainly you should help him out. The turning of the daf is sponsored by Kidnovations LLC in honor of my Uncle Reb Elchanan Pressman, who I had the zchusim in Bar Park now, as a zchus for Akiva Simcha and as a zchus for Akiva Simcha Ben Feiga, who's my son. Ner Tamid of Baltimore, Maryland. I think today is the last day for them. So listen to this, Rabbi Boyce, I'm going to say it again. Ner Tamid of Baltimore. In honor of Fishel and Simcha Gross, two tzaddikim who made a campaign to get people from Ner Tamid to learn Torah. The rabbi told me he had the audacity and the chutzpah to ask the whole congregation to learn 5 minutes a day. That's it, 5 minutes a day. And he came in there and he got them to do Daf Yomi for the entire Masechus Bava Kama. 137 congregants took upon themselves and they actually finished. 137. I think it was 170 that started. And 137 finished. It's unbelievable. And Bava Kama is not an easy Masechus. So, thanks to them, 137 people learned 16,166 dafim of Gemara, over 727,470 minutes of Torah, and we're Messiah Bava Kama with MDY. 40 of them continued on to Bava Metzia, and many others, I don't know the numbers, are doing Amud Yomi, Mishnah Brura, and things that they never dreamt of doing before. They were discussing topics in halacha with each other, not when they were learning. Just instead of talking about sports, they were talking about so what's the halacha if the fifth person comes into the elevator and the elevator breaks? Who's chayiv? Is the first guy, the third guy? All these things, unbelievable. Says the Gemara, time out. Your upshot is wrong. Loading an animal is also a monetary loss. Why? Mila askinon If the guy can't get his animal to the marketplace, he's going to lose out on money. If you don't load up the animal and start moving, thieves are going to come and take the product. So it is a monetary loss. Okay. Says the Gemara, I want to prove to you that harming an animal is the deraisa. Because it says, this is what Yosef Ben Chaya asked. It says, if there was more than an animal could take, usually, let's say a donkey can hold 500 pounds, put 1,000 pounds. The Mishnah Rabbi Yosef says, don't worry about it. You don't have to help him out. The guy is an idiot for loading his animal like that. Don't worry about it. And he brings a pasuk. Seems like you only have to help out when he's being reasonable. But the Tanakhama holds that you do have to help out even if he overdid it. My time, the Tanakhama holds that you have to do it because it's Tzirel Chayim. Says the Gemara, you know, that wasn't the argument. The argument is, what does the word Tachas Masoy mean? Does Tachas Masoy mean reasonable or it doesn't mean reasonable? The Rabbi Yosef said that Shin Tachas Masoy, Master Shioch Lavaboy, that the Torah only uses Chayiv you, like it's Exeris HaKosov. Says Rabbi Yosef, nothing to do with Tzirel Chayim. The Torah says if you went above and beyond, you loaded him up more than he's capable, you know, the elevators say, up to 1,000 pounds. Okay, so you went 2,000 pounds, you're not Chayiv, says Rabbi Yosef. And Rabbanan Sarvi learned the Shin Tachas Masoy. It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that there's a limit. Any amount you have to help out. Teda. Says the Gemara, Teda Tzirel Chayim Lav Deraisa. I'll prove to you now the opposite. That Tzirel Chayim is not Deraisa. Why? If the guy sat on the side, I don't know, I'm not going to get to that picture now. You remember what I'm talking about, right? The picture of the UPS guy just chilling out, reading, learning from the Gemara. So, you have the mitzvah to do it. Potter, you don't have to help him out. So ask the Gemara, and if Tzirel Chayim is the right, who cares if the guy is sitting there and watching you when he's being mean? You have a mitzvah to save the animal. So the owner is a Rasha. That makes you potter from Tzirel Chayim. Tzirel Chayim, I have to help the animal. So you see that Tzirel Chayim is not the Raisa. Says Tzirel Chayim the Raisa. No, it's not a Raya. I could say no, Tzirel Chayim is the Raisa. Yisar is potter. It doesn't mean that you're potter. Potter l'gamrei. What I meant to say is that he should pay you. If he's not going to help you, then he has to pay you. If he is going to help you, then he doesn't have to pay you. And this is what the Torah meant. If the owner is there, you should do it for free. Then you can take money. If he doesn't want to help you out, if he's not going to be mishtatif with you, then you can demand payment. No. Old guy, you have a chiyuv because it's as if nobody's there. Nobody's home. He physically can't help it. But if he's capable and he's not helping you, the Gemara is saying, I could say that. Doesn't mean that that's the halacha. I could get out of this, and your proof that Tzirel Chayim is not the Raisa, it's not a good proof. Simon, behemas. Oh yeah, son and Rafson. Says the Gemara, Rava holds that Tzirel Chayim is the Raisa, right? The top words in the summon. The Divrish, Shteim Nilma Tzirel Chayim, the Raisa. That's Rava. So the Gemara says, I have proof to Rava, a bunch of proofs. 5 different proofs. Behemas, we're going to go, that's even tomorrow, we're going to go a little bit into continue the sugya. It's Kishmaka stuff. Oh, this is great proof, right? A non-Jewish animal, owned by a non-Jew, by an idol worshiper, you mechuyev to help him out. Why? It makes a lot of sense if you say Tzirel Chayim is the Raisa. So I don't care who the owner is. But if you say that Tzirel Chayim is not a deraisa, why are you mechuyev to help him out? Says Gemara, not a raya. Hasam shum eva. We don't want the guy to hate you. So you passing by, you're from Yid with the ganze levush and everything, and the animal's sitting there and he's like, hey, can you help me? No. Eva. And you know the opposite is, if you think about it, how many Kiddush Hashem was on TV many times where Chaverim stop in the middle of the highway, in the middle of the snow and help a non-Jew. That's the opposite of Eva. Helping. Showing Kiddush Hashem, right? No? We've seen it a few times. And it makes a lot of sense. Also, if the animal is loaded with non-permissible wine, what does that mean? Like a yayin nesach kind of thing. Ein zokoklo. You don't have to help him out. If Tzar Chaim is not a doraisa mishumachin zokoklo, that makes sense. You don't have to help out. Eliam is doraisa. So what if it's loaded with forbidden wine? You should help out. There's a chiyuv doraisa of Tzar Chaim. We're talking about to load it up with the forbidden wine, ain zoklo. So that's a trick that the Gemara is going to use now a few times. When the Gemara is going to put you in a corner, so you can get out of it and say, "Oh, we're not talking about unloading; we're talking about loading." And to load up an animal, that's a load up animal. The whole tsar and everything is when you're unloading. Tashma. So if you look at the pasuk over here, the Torah says your brother. The Torah is saying that you're not mechuyev to help an oived kechavim. So, if the owner of the animal is a non-Jew, umasoi Yisrael, but the load is owned by a Jew, v'chodalta, right? So I said before, v'chodalta is a question mark in the Torah. V'chodalta, what, you're gonna not help him out? But over here the Gemara is using it as a no. Do not help him out. You don't have to help him out. But if you hold that Tzar Chaim is the Raisa, why? What gives you the right not to help him out? The opposite. Let's use the other words. You should help him out. Not because of the non-Jew, but because of the animal. He's bitzar. Says Gemara, no. We're not even talking about the reason why you don't have to help him out, because you're loading him, not unloading. If the animal's owned by a Jew, the reverse, right? The animal's owned by a Jew, but the load is that of a non-Jew. If you have to help the Jew. Why should he help a non-Jew? Who's here moving the animal? A non-Jew. So you're helping the non-Jew. You don't have to. Because when you're not going to help him, it's going to cause anguish and discomfort to the Jew. So when you have what's the first case? The guy owns the animal and the load is owned by Israel. It should say that you have to help him. Why? Because it's causing pain and anguish to the Jew. Says Gemara, no, you didn't understand. Who's the guy moving the animal? A non-Jew. Seva, the Chamer Yisrael. It all depends who's there with the animal. So when it's the guy leading the animal is a non-Jew, so you don't have to help. When the guy leading the animal is a Jew, then you have to help. My paskes. Who told you that that's the case? That the Reish is talking about that it's a non-Jew and the Sefer is a Jew. So the Gemara makes a lot of sense. Some of the Milsa. Who goes with an animal? Who's used to the animal? Who leads the animal? The owner of the animal. So the Milsa inish basa charmi azil. Says Gemara, you came up with all these reasons and you try to get out of the corner by saying that we're not talking about unloading, we're talking about loading. But all these words, v'chadalta and Yosef Taziv, are talking in the pasuk of Brika, of unloading, not loading. You're right. So we may have to say this Rabbi Yosef in our Mishnah. By the way, before when it says some of the milsa inish basa chamri azal, a person goes after his chamar. So there are those who learn chamar is also chaymer, that a person goes after the gashmias. That's the norm. You go after your gashmi, not after your ruchni. And our job is to flip it. Says the Gemara, Rabbi says, we proved it. That Rabbi says, right? That's what Rabbi Yosef Ben Zev asked as soon as he saw Rabbi Zeglili. He says, if you load it too much, you're not mechuyev to. What about Tzirel Chaim? He obviously doesn't hold the Tzirel Chaim. Rabbi said, when I learned this Gemara today on Shabbos, I cried. Why? I don't know. I'm not going to cry now. Be'ez Hashem. I hope. This following Gemara did something to me. Because basically Gemara is our instruction book. It teaches us how to live life and how to treat another Yid and what we should do and not do. It's unbelievable to me, this Gemara. You remember this Gemara, Daf Amud Beis, Leiv in Bava Metzia. Leiv in Bava Metzia. Because I think if we what's the word I'm looking for? We internalize, right? That's the word. Shkoya. If we internalize this Gemara, it'll help us out a lot. Seriously. This is a beautiful piece right over here. Beautiful. Says the Gemara like this. Toshma. Again, let's think about this aloud for a second. You have two animals in front of you. One has 3,000 pounds of bananas on it, and it's shaking like a leaf. It's schwitzing. It's about to fall. You have another animal just chilling out, drinking water, and there's a bunch of boxes on the side. Which one makes sense to help out? It makes sense to help out the animal. It's about to collapse. Says the Gemara, listen to this. It's unbelievable. I hope I don't cry now. Oyev lifroik. Your best friend is sitting there with an animal that has 3,000 pounds of bananas, and it's about to collapse. It's your best friend. And your enemy is the owner of the animal that you have to load up. Mitzvah b'soinei, you should help load the animal up. Why? Because he's your enemy. This, Rabbi Isai, is the concept in life. We are here to break our Yetzer Hara. And you have an enemy. And if it wasn't an enemy, it was two lovers, the Gemara calls them lovers, two friends, oyevs, two people you love. And I didn't say it right. Two people you love. And one is to unload and one is to load. Obviously, you're going to do the unloading because they're both equals. But because one of them is your enemy, you're going to do the lesser mitzvah first because he's your enemy, because it's your obligation to break your Yetzer Hara. And that obligation breaks the Torah. And the Gemara continues. You know what's going on there? I mean, we have to read it again. Oyev lifroik v'soinei litoy. If you have somebody you love, and his animal needs to be unloaded, he's shaking, he's about to collapse. V'soinei, but your enemy. Now, who's your enemy? Rabbi say, who's your enemy? Says Taisus, it's not an enemy that you're mechuyev to hate. It's not a guy that was over on a rayas, he says. That person you have to hate. Just you decided to hate him. Why? Because when you went to his shul, he didn't say the Mishaber for Chayalei Tzahal. So now you hate him. Or for cared, you went to his shul and he said Mishaber for Chayalei Tzahal, and you hold it's usher, and now you hate him. So that's a shtus. Now you hated a guy for no reason. I'm saying it because I know these people hate each other now. Chutzpah. You know what they do in Israel? You don't even say the Mishaber. But the G'daylim say, your G'daylim are terrible. And your G'daylim, you're an idiot. And that. Okay. So you hate a guy. Why do you hate a guy? Giving money to Torah and to Kailim. You should be giving for the, they need equipment. They need helmets. And they need flashlights. And you're giving your money for Yeshiva Shugana. And this guy says, you're Shugana. Kids are soine. They hate each other for no reason. Says Taisus, not a real sin, a sin of shtus. Yeah? Agav, just if you look at what the Yetzer Hara is doing in Eretz Yisrael, look what's going on there. We finally had Achdus. Finally, the whole Eretz Yisrael came together, and the left and the right, and then the Charedim and the Misnagdim and the this and the Chilonim, and the Yetzer Hara is working it unbelievable to break. And I'm not even going into who's right and wrong. These guys are right and these guys are wrong. Whatever. Everybody has their own shita. But it's beautiful to see. Beautiful. Hashem is the Yetzer Hara. Let's break everybody. Let's get the Chilonim away from the Datiyin, the Yeshiva, from the Chayalim, and let's the right and the left, and we got to get rid of the government and everything just to make a sinner. Unbelievable. So, nobody learns a lesson. Oh, maybe the whole thing happened because of sinas chinam and this and that. Let's do it again. Says the Gemara. We continue. It gets even better, says the Gemara. And if you hold that Tzar B'Lechayim is a Doiraisa, so what should come first? The guy. Where am I? Did I skip anything?
No.
You should definitely take care of the animal that's about to collapse. Now says the Gemara, bam, and this puts it all together. Even so, even though your chiyuv d'oraisa and sar b'lechayim is to take care of the animal that's about to collapse, but no, your chiyuv is to break your Yitzhahara, and that outdoes and more important than your chiyuv d'oraisa of sar b'lechayim. So Rabbi Yosef, there's one thing from this whole week. I think this is the most powerful Gemara ever. You should take care of your soine. There's actually a halacha is brought down. Nar Chazchayim. He says, "Give shalachmanas to your enemy." That's what you're supposed to do. But on a side note, it says in and I forgot who it was. He says, "But you're not yoytzi yichiyah shalachmanas," because it's today laharbois avav achvan. It could be you weren't avav achva over there. Although it's possible if you got it and you like it, but go out of your comfort zone and make that phone call and bring achdus to Klal Yisroel and give a shalachmanas to somebody you hate. It's unbelievable Gemara. I don't know if you enjoyed it as much as me, but I can tell you I was mamish crying like a baby when I read this. Fine. Just 2 more lines and we're done. When the Torah says, wherever that pasuk is, let me see. Your enemy, says the Gemara, Son Yisrael. It's talking about somebody you hate that's Jewish. Not a non-Jew. But if we're talking about an animal that's in pain and the rest, who cares if it's a non-Jew? You have to save the animal. Says the Gemara, you think we're talking about unloading? We're talking about loading an animal where there is no tzar b'alachayim over there. Rabbi Tzai, have a wonderful week. Yishkor for coming. Tomorrow, Be'ezer Hashem, I'll see you online from New York. A good